The former head of Dungeons & Dragons says D&D isn't cool anymore, Critical Role confirms the end of an era, and EA has gutted BioWare after poor sales of Dragon Age: The Veilguard. Welcome to Tabletop News Tuesday on the Character Sheet, your first look at the week's biggest fantasy and TTRPG news. But before we dig into today's juicy stories, why not take a second and hit those like and subscribe buttons to help us keep this channel growing? And then, let's dive into the news. The man who led the creation of D&D 5th edition says that D&D is now uncool, and that the OGL disaster is to blame. Mike Mearls, who was the lead developer for the launch of Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, spoke out about the current state of D&D in an interview with Ben Riggs. Mearls said that the OGL basically took all of the shine off of D&D and destroyed the image of Wizards of the Coast and the D&D brand as a creative force in the TTRPG scene. Mearls also said that even on his own Patreon, he no longer wants to do 5e compatible content, saying, quote, "It just seems boring. It's like trying to start a hair metal band in 1992. Like, no, everyone's mopey and we're all wearing flannel. It's Seattle and rain, it's Nirvana now, man." Mearls also said that while the TTRPG scene is flourishing, for the first time ever in his mind, D&D is not on the upswing along with it, and all the energy in the scene is behind other RPG systems and companies, while Dungeons & Dragons has become, quote, uncool. And what's more, Mearls thinks this move away from D&D as the cool brand in TTRPGs is possibly permanent, as the OGL may have simply done too much damage to ever really repair the image and the momentum of the brand. And while this 2024 Player's Handbook may be the best one that has ever been written, in his words, the excitement around the release and the game as a whole just does not seem to be there. And according to the man who ushered in D&D 5th edition, it may never be again.
Oh my, no.
Critical Role has seemingly confirmed that some major changes and the end of an era is coming to the world's biggest actual play show. In their weekly schedule announcement, Critical Role called Thursday's finale of Campaign 3 the epic conclusion of 10 years of cumulative storytelling. That line, plus the massive 8.5-hour runtime, seems to confirm that Critical Role is turning the page on this chapter of Exandria and the 3 campaigns that were all set in it, with the resolution of this finale. Basically, the original trilogy of Critical Role is ending, and what comes next likely won't have any direct ties to Vox Machina, the Mighty Nein, or Bell's Hells, given that their whole 10 years of storytelling arc has reached its conclusion. We speculated yesterday that Critical Role could be headed for either a massive time jump or a complete change of campaign setting for Campaign 4, and with the way Critical Role is approaching this finale, including the crazy long runtime and the tailgate leading up to the finale, and Matt Mercer getting a fireside chat to answer those lingering Campaign 3 and Exandria questions down the line, it seems like we are definitely headed into uncharted territory when Campaign 4 of Critical Role kicks off sometime this spring or summer.
But I want it now!
Pokémon Pocket has responded to the backlash for their wildly unpopular new trading system in the post on social media, and are promising to make changes to the system to try and get players to actually want to use it. The current system, which we discussed briefly last week, revolves around getting trade tokens to basically allow a trade to happen, and the only way to get the really sought after rare cards was to turn 4 other rare cards into tokens and then trade away another rare card. So basically you had to give up 5 cards of the same value just to get 1 card for your collection, which is clearly 1 step forward, 5 steps back. And the players were not having it. Boycotts were threatened, the creator spaces on YouTube, TikTok, and others were just flooded with videos about fans hating the system, and it seems that the team at Pokémon TCG Pocket has realized their mistake. Their new post promises that they will be looking at new ways to provide players with trade tokens without having to sacrifice their cards, like giving them away or earning them through special events, although they don't offer a firm timeline on when that will happen. While it seems like some aspects of the unpopular system, mainly these trade tokens, will be sticking around, at least some change now appears to be on the way, as the devs realize that they have probably made a terrible mistake.
You done messed up, Aaron!
Pathfinder has just revealed 2 new classes and a new ancestry in their upcoming Battlecry book, which will release at Gen Con in August this year. The 2 new classes being added are the Commander and the Guardian. and by their names alone you can probably guess what they do. The commander is a support and buffing class who uses their own actions to grant more abilities and actions to other classes in their party, including allowing allies to attack on the commander's turn. Basically, it reminds us a lot of the Warlord from Dungeons & Dragons 4th edition. The Guardian, on the other hand, is simply a massive armored tank, and is specialized in attracting attacks and getting the most damage mitigation possible out of their armor. And it's easily the tankiest class Pathfinder 2nd edition has ever turned out. The new ancestry being released alongside these classes is the Jotunborn, who are massive, giant-like creatures from an alternate plane of existence, where they tend giant beetles and harvest their silk. But their huge frames and incredible strength and durability make them a great pick for both of these new classes. So if you want to play the biggest, toughest tank in Pathfinder, or become the gigantic center of attention as you call out actions for your fellow party members, check out Battlecry when it releases this summer at Gen Con.
Can't wait!
And EA appears to have gutted the Bioware team after the lack of commercial success for Dragon Age The Veilguard. Last week, reports state that Electronic Arts apparently restructured Bioware, the team behind the Dragon Age and Mass Effect series of RPGs, laying off 100 or so employees and shifting others to permanent positions in different studios, including the directors and writers of Dragon Age The Veilguard. While BioWare was at over 200 employees just 2 years ago when they were in the middle of developing Dragon Age The Veilguard, EA has decided that BioWare should focus only on the new Mass Effect game, moving or letting go of most of the Dragon Age staff and leaving BioWare with less than 100 people working on the next Mass Effect game. BioWare has been looking for a big hit after 3 big misses in a row, with Mass Effect Andromeda, Anthem, and now Dragon Age The Veilguard failing to live up to critical or commercial targets. So could Mass Effect 5 be the last chance for what was once one of the biggest RPG game studios in the world to avoid being shut down? With fewer than 100 people now working on that title, we just hope they're given enough time and resources to bring fans a fully finished Mass Effect game, as Electronic Arts seems to have no problems shuttering big studios if they keep failing to deliver. And that's all we have this week for Tabletop News Tuesday. Let us know what your favorite story was down in the comments, and don't forget to hit those like and subscribe buttons.